What's up, everybody? This is Elliott and you're listening to Magical Thinking, brought to you by artofmagic.com. The guest for this episode is Justin Willman. He's a magician and a comedian. He's been a television host and done comedy specials, and he's kind of a big deal. He's a really cool guy. Came over and sat down and talked with me for a while about a lot of comedy. He talked about some of the cool projects that he's working on, being funny, and the difference between being a comedy magician and being a funny magician. There's some really good little nuggets of wisdom in this episode. As a matter of fact, Justin did a different podcast a few years ago that really influenced me, and so I was really happy to have him on this one. Funny little thing about this episode is that as we were going, Justin kept taking things out of his pocket, so we started with an empty table, and by the end of the episode, there were mints and change and gum and keys and phones, and it was pretty funny. It was a lot of fun. I'm really thankful to Justin that he came and gave some of his precious time to talk about magic. Follow us on all the social media channels, and you can email me at podcast@artofmagic.com. Those social media channels are facebook.com/magicalthinkingpodcast, facebook.com/asenseofmystery, instagram.com/asenseofmystery, instagram.com/treasuryofwonder, and a bunch of other stuff too. We have a bunch of social media channels. Just a lot of places for you to catch us. A lot of places for you to just get into it. Anyway, that's about it, I think. Enjoy the episode. Take care.
Oh yeah, Mulaney, was he fantastic as well, I'm sure?
Yeah, it was insane. Much more handsome in person.
Mulaney's?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it was great. And then a couple of comics I didn't know but found hilarious as well.
Jermaine Fowler? Was he on the show?
No. Yeah, I can't remember their names. They were great though. It was a fun time.
Yeah, I like that venue.
Yeah, it's a nice
room.
room.
Been there before?
No, I've never been. Yeah, I like it a lot. I also like the small room with the bar in it. Mm-hmm. That's a nice room.
That's where Sarah Silverman shot her last special.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Like 60 seats.
It
was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Derek Hughes used to do a monthly show there years ago. Mm-hmm. In the little room. It's cool.
It's very cool.
Mm-hmm. Alright, so how's this go?
Like this?
We just chat.
Yeah.
We're recording? Is this it?
Yeah.
We are?
Yeah.
Even though it's under a thing?
Yeah, see, the reason it's under a bag
is to make you not aware.
Is to make people forget about it.
Oh, you bastard. I thought you were going to unveil the bag. Unveil the mic. I was like, it's a fancy mic. Okay. Alright, we'll keep it covered here.
We could take it off.
No,
if you feel you'll perform better.
No, it's almost like a windsock.
Yeah.
A spit. What do they call it? A pop filter.
Yeah, it's that's the intent of it, is a pop filter, but we're never actually close enough to it.
This bag came with the mic?
No, this is a bag that we use to package Dan and Dave's.
This is the new Dan and Dave egg bag?
Yeah, this is
their little version. It's
transparent.
Translucent.
Well, that's true.
Mulaney egg bag.
Yeah.
Which is great, except for the fact that you can always see the egg in the pocket there.
Yeah, we haven't quite worked around that problem, but we've got some of the best minds on it currently.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love the idea that you have, you got Garcia and Ossie Wind working on egg bag technique.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Blaine's next special, he's got a big chunk.
He's doing the classics
with the egg bag.
Yeah.
I would love to see.
He's doing dubs.
Blaine do the classics. Wouldn't that be funny?
I watched a video of Channing Pollock this morning, and I was like, holy
He's doing sponge
shit.
bunnies.
Yeah.
He's going to close with hippity hops.
There it is.
But it's going to be kind of a racial equality theme.
Oh, wow. He's going to be like in a very urban area of
with a white bunny and a black bunny.
Yeah. And then they make mulatto bunnies.
And then he ends with the yellow and the red bunny, which is kind of a subtle, it's kind of an Asian Native American honorarium, and also commentary against the use of the Redskins in NFL titles.
Yeah, he's tying it all together. I've really been impressed with how progressive Lane has been lately in his material.
It's called Real or Magic Shop. It was just stuff that he bought from Tannins on his way to the shoot. Color Monte, great work on the Color Monte. He gets this group of guys in Harlem. They just run. $14. What? Fun. Finishing my banana. I'm going to place it right on the table here.
Great. Perfect.
Okay. I'm in airplane mode this.
Cool beans.
I got a text from the building that I've arrived.
Yes, in case you weren't aware.
And it took a picture of me.
Yeah, you know what's funny? Okay, so...
Did it send a picture of me here?
Yes.
You guys saw the picture of me?
No. But apparently it's in like an email database. And so every time I sign in, I do like a really funny face or thing because Coley, Dave's wife, had the idea to take all of those pictures and make like a book out of them.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Because coming over for a podcast, I didn't bother showering or anything. So
of course.
It's a great photo.
I wasn't going to mention anything, but...
Mm-hmm.
That's a cool tattoo.
Leaning back. This one?
Yeah.
It's kind of it's a Jack of Spades, which
yes, it is
always my favorite card. I don't know why. And it's kind of a vintage Magic postery hand holding it.
Yeah.
I got it a few months after I moved to LA in 2002, so that would be 13, 14 years ago.
Were you living anywhere between St. Louis and LA?
In here? Yeah. So I went to college in Boston.
Okay.
Emerson College.
Okay.
For 4 years. You been to Boston?
No.
So I was there from 98 to 2002, and then for the second semester of senior year, so for the last half a year, you can live in LA and you can get an internship and get college credit for it, and lived at the Oakwoods on Barham with Dan Levy and Eric Hutchinson was out here, a bunch of my friends from college, and we decided that LA was the place, so we stayed. And then I moved into a house on Wilton, just down the way from here. And lived there for a few months, and then in the valley, and then all over, and lived with different girlfriends, and acquired different dogs, and then got divorced from those dogs, and here we are.
Isn't that a sad thing?
14 years later.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Broke up from a 6-year relationship, and we got a cat in the last year of the relationship.
Were you guys living in LA?
No, well, yes, but not this one. We're in Louisiana.
Okay. And then you came to LA after that?
San Diego. But yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
But that's always the hardest part, is leaving the cat.
Yeah, 6 years, that's a long one.
Yeah.
Leaving the cat. Well, it's all those little things that you use as justification to try to make it work. All the stuff, the lease, the moving out, the animals, the trips we have booked in the future.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of things.
Yep. Gotta take the plunge. Anyway, we don't have to do that. I know you already got in trouble for that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, that's right. I can refer to the other podcasts.
Okay, so let's start off in St. Louis, because I sort of got my magic start in St. Louis.
Really?
Yeah, I have family that's up there, and I met...
What part?
I don't know.
Creve Coeur, Chesterfield, Clayton, Webster.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, but in St. Louis.
Yeah, but in St. Louis, and I met Randy Kalin at an IBM meeting up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
how old were you?
Like 12.
Did you live there for years?
No, I didn't live there. No.
Just passed through?
Yeah, I just had family up there. So
wait, and were you doing magic before then?
No, not really.
Oh. How'd you end up at an IBM meeting?
I was interested in card tricks. I bought some book at a Barnes & Noble and was doing the Erdnase color change, and I went up there and was showing my grandmother. She took me to St. Louis Bread Company, which is Panera everywhere else. My grandmother and granddad have this group of friends, and they go to Panera every morning, St. Louis Bread Company every morning. And one of their friends is an amateur magician, so he was there, and I went with him and showed him color change. And he showed me some magic and challenged me to learn new things and get better. So the next time I came up, I wanted to see him. I went to an IBM meeting, saw him, did some tricks for him.
Who was this? What was his name?
I can't remember his name.
Okay.
But Randy showed me mnemonica stuff at this meeting. It totally blew my mind, and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And he was like, let's go to Gibbles. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. Dude, what year was this then?
This was 2002, 2003 maybe.
Yeah, Randy was one of my most important first mentors. He was running... So I started taking classes at Gibbles, which was like a half magic shop, half kind of adult novelty store, right?
Yes.
It was like bachelorette party, penis hats and whatever. So
with costumes in between.
With you. Yeah, that's crazy. So Gibbles had told me that there was a Society of Young Magicians meeting at the library, and Randy ran that and took me under his wing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
He is awesome. Yeah, good times.
Yeah.
St. Louis had like the SYM and had an SAM Assembly 8, IBM Ring 1. It's kind of like a little random mecca for Magic.
Yeah. Paul LaPaul, Chris Kenner, yourself.
Golden Hirsch was there.
Golden Hirsch, there. Harry
Monty, Chris Raymond,
Yep.
Don Lawton.
Great guys.
Yeah, good guys. Lots of good old guys.
I love Gibbles so much. That's the best place. Lois is still there.
I know. I was just back there a couple months ago and took a picture with them, and they still have, I think, some products that have been on the shelf since I took classes there. You know, a very dusty Goshman Ding Dong is there in a paper bag. The brick and mortar is so rare.
And that's a great one because it does have adult-themed party items.
Yeah. No, like when I took magic lessons there, Robert Cole was the magic teacher, and you had to have a parent with you because if you were under 18. So so I learned about magic, and then I learned about things that are magical. You know?
Yeah. It's very
mystery
important.
And things that had always been a mystery to me.
Yeah, it's very important at such a young age to have a good education.
This is true. And it was a good teacher. Magic's a good teacher. Let me take these mints out of my pocket here and place them down. I'm just gradually, the listeners can't hear, but I'm just taking stuff out of my pockets like I'm going through TSA, but I'm trying to get as comfortable as possible. Now, some listener who's got a trained ear could tell us exactly how much change I dumped out. Probably Greg Wilson.
This feels like that Weber routine where he just keeps emptying cell phones from his pocket.
Yeah, I haven't seen that routine.
Neither have I. I heard about it.
Is it a thing?
I hoped you had seen it so you could tell me about it. Yeah, apparently he does a...
That's funny.
Yeah.
Cell phones, though?
Yeah, well, cell phone, just random shit. He just, like, keeps putting... And then the table ends up full of stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I do at security every day.
Yeah. Every day. How often do you fly? You travel all the time. I see, you're in Chicago, you're in this place, that place, all of it.
At least once a week. Sometimes 2 or 3 times a week. So tomorrow morning I have a 6 a.m. flight to Madison, Wisconsin to do a club there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and come back Sunday. Yeah.
So you're a professional.
Yeah. I mean, I used to fly more because now that I'm doing comedy clubs, I'm staying in the same place for 3 or 4 days. But it used to be doing colleges, and I would fly every day for 4 days. So different college every day, and wake up at 6 a.m., take a flight, drive, get to the show, set up, do the show, try to then go to sleep and do the same thing the next day.
Yeah.
It was grueling, but fun. Awesome. That's why I have some gray hairs.
Yeah.
I think from those years of pushing it.
I think that makes sense.
Burning the candle at both ends.
Yeah. I have a friend who's an engineer and still in college, and he's like got half a gray head.
Really?
Yeah, because he's like, he doesn't sleep.
And because being an engineer, I imagine, is quite demanding.
Yes, that's true as well. But mostly because it is burning the candle to both ends. But you're a handsome guy, even though I think you've got like the good...
Oh, you like it?
Yeah, you've got the good grades.
And then this gets gray,
Yeah. It's nice though, you look
I'm 35 now, I guess you're allowed to do that. But I don't feel that.
Yeah.
I feel 25.
You don't seem 35. You seem younger.
Yeah.
Vibrant.
Oh, thanks.
Youthful.
I don't know what 35 is supposed to look like, but whenever I see anybody who says they're in their 30s, I always think they're grown up, and I'm not.
Yeah.
It's probably, I think, magic that keeps you young, because I don't have, like, a collection of khaki pants and button-up shirts that I have to wear to a real job.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And you're doing comedy clubs.
Doing comedy clubs, and...
Which is the least real job.
Yeah.
You know?
Of magic. Of being a magician.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And I do corporate, so where I, have to clean it up sometimes, but still, I mean, our work day is working on tricks. It's ridiculous that we get paid for this. It's crazy.
It's pretty absurd. I saw your show at the Castle with Brett.
Yes, it was a fun time.
It was so good.
Thanks,
guys
man.
were awesome. Killed it.
Had you seen me perform before?
No.
That was the first time?
First time, yeah. I'd seen clips and stuff like that.
Had we met before though at MagicCon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we had lunch at Magic Live too.
Yes.
Yeah.
You didn't see the show at Magic Live?
No.
Okay.
I was a dealer. I didn't get to go into anything.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You were at the D&D booth.
Yep.
The Dungeons and Dragons booth.
Yes.
Yeah.
With everyone that had a huge neck beard. They all just congregated there.
Neckbeards.
Yes.
You mean that they're just hairy and unhygienic folks?
Yeah, they're Dungeons and Dragons players.
Oh, yes. Okay, got it. You were taking my bit for
I was yes-anding.
Yes, thank you. Yes-anding.
Yes.
Thank you.
I totally blanked out.
Magic Castle, Brett.
Yeah, that was a great show.
Teller
I had
show.
a fun time. What is it that you... Okay, so Are you a magician first or a comedian first?
Magician first.
Magician first.
I mean, well, yeah, definitely magician first, just because magic. I mean, I think maybe what attracted me to magic at the beginning was the fact that I loved comedy and wanted to be funny and liked funny people. You know, like Seinfeld and Johnny Carson and Jay Leno and Steve Martin. And magic seemed like a means to be funny, to make people happy, to kind of be the center of attention, which I think any awkward teen like us loves. And you know, I don't think I knew how to just be funny doing stand-up as a kid. Like, what are we gonna talk about? Do jokes about homework or something, you know? Or
this orange juice is too much, Paul.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So magic it was just kind of a way in. But I did serious magic for a while. Like, I did a dove act, I did a manip act, I competed in magic competitions and stuff. But I was also at the same time, like, you know, doing a kid's birthday party show. I was like, you know, loved the entrepreneurial aspect of it and getting the laughs and stuff. But then also loved Lance Burton and Greg Fruin and Jason Byrne, and I just loved that style of act. And I think that was what tapped me into being original in magic, which was, you know, first I would do this kind of very classic Lance Burton dove act, and then I saw guys like Fruin and Byrne, and I was like, oh man, you can do anything, like, seriously. And that's when I realized that as opposed to starting with what you know how to do and figuring out what to do with it, you could just figure out what you want to do and then work backwards, and there's always a way to figure out how to do it. And which is a good lesson, you know. But to answer your question, now I still feel like I'm a magician first, who hopefully is just funnier than I used to be.
Do you think people see you as a magician first? Within the magic community and without the magic community?
I think people who at least know my work or know me would see me as a magician first. People who maybe now see me for the first time who are not in the magic community might think that I'm a comedian who happens to do magic, which I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'm flattered by that. I don't know. It could go either way. I mean, I could, you know, I still do close-up. I could do a strolling gig. I think people book me for being a magician who is a comedy magician.
Yeah.
I don't know, you know, I do the comedy clubs and stuff, but I feel like it's always, you know, I still feel like a variety act.
Sure,
I don't feel like a
course.
straight up comedy.
Yeah. And I'm not implying that you're not a magician. That's not at all what I'm trying to say. I just am curious about what you are communicating to the audience and what you feel, what you think that they are taking away from your show.
I mean, I like the idea of maybe if they think I'm a comedian who's kind of using magic here and there to prove the point or push the idea forward, I feel like that might disarm them when some really strong magic happens, because it's like, well, like, wait.
Yeah.
He's not just messing around, you know, like, that was legit. Yeah. That's fun. I like playing with that. I feel like Matt King, you know, guys like that, he's still a magician first, too.
Oh, yeah,
happens
absolutely.
to be really, really funny.
Yeah.
Who else? You know, Amazing Jonathan, what would you consider him?
That's a great question. He's definitely a magician, but he's also absolutely a comedian. And I don't know how to separate the two.
Right. Because it's like his bit is that he's a bad magician.
Yeah.
But really, we look at that and we're like, oh, he's a brilliant comedian who uses the character of being a magician to get the comedy. But, yeah, it's kind of fun to not give people a clear label on you. Yeah.
And I like that. I mean, I think it's super interesting. And I think it's a good draw for people who don't know how to label you. They're interested in seeing what happens and what you do. You named 2 Tonight Show hosts, Carson and Leno. Yeah. Is that something you want to do?
I mean, I'd love to do that. That's a hard gig to get.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to wait for someone to die.
Yeah.
Fallon looks pretty spry.
Well,
unless he has a couple more accidents, takes a couple more spills.
Seriously, that guy is never not injured.
Yeah, I know. Tonight Show seems like just the best job. Like, for me, I have a little bit of a short attention span in that I don't want to, like, I'm always changing my show, putting new stuff in. If a bit's been in too long, if I get bored with it, I want to, like, change it up. So I like the idea of doing something new all the time. I like interviewing people. I like doing, bits. I like the idea of working on new bits each night. So it seems like a great gig.
How often do you switch up your material?
Well, there are certain things that are like staples in the show that will stay there for a year or 2 or 3 or 4. And then there are like placeholders where I can put new things in. So right now I've got a couple things that are like 3 new bits that are maybe a month or 2 old. Mm-hmm. That if they get to the point where they're strong enough to stand on their own, then I can take an old bit out,
Yeah.
But if I'm going back to a city I've recently been in, like I try to make a point to at least have a third of the show new.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a comedian that talked about people coming out to see the greatest hits, and if you just do the greatest hits, they're gonna go, "Oh, I've seen him." The next time you come back.
Yeah, I think Patton Oswalt talks about that.
Yeah, that is Patton Oswalt.
Where he's got an algorithm, a little math equation that I don't know off the top of my head, but it's like you either go back 18 months later or 80% new or something like that. Like, because if people come to see you again and they see a lot of the same stuff, they'll enjoy it, but they're not going to buy another ticket.
Yeah.
Because you've conditioned them to think that, all right, we've seen that once, we've seen it again, we're good. But, like Gaffigan, I think will do his all-new hour each year, and then for the encore, do the greatest hits. Do Hot Pocket, do this or that.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. Because they want to see it. I mean, you go to see a band, I want to hear some of the new stuff, but I want to hear a lot of the old stuff.
Yeah.
And it's different, I think, for a musician that you love to, just want to hear the songs that you know versus Magic. If you've seen them, unless you brought people and you're like, oh, I can't wait for you to see this bit. This is great. Oh, yeah. It's kind of fun to share something, watch somebody react to something that you love.
Yeah.
But, comedy and Magic, you want to feel new feels. Yeah. See the new stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You're such an eclectic performer in the way, one of my favorite things I've ever seen on social media, and I have a feeling you got drunk when you did this, was you going through Twitter, screen capping tweets and posting them on Instagram. People roasting you.
Oh yeah.
About Cupcake Wars.
Cupcake War mean tweets.
Yes.
You enjoyed that?
I really did.
I've got a lot. I've got a folder of 70 of them. Yeah. I mean, those that I've saved over the years, just because some of them are, it used to really bum me out.
Really?
Like when we were doing the show, I remember after the first season of Cupcake Wars, and I'm having to play a role on the show that's not really me. I'm kind of having to be more stern than I really am, and take this cupcake competition seriously. So that I think comes off kind of douchey to people because I kind of have to be the bad guy. I have to send everybody home.
Yeah.
Whereas I just want to make a joke and hug everybody.
Yeah.
But
do you do an impression of Florian?
This is a stupid chocolate cupcake. This is pitiful.
I like this cupcake.
I like this cupcake. Yeah. I want you to give me this recipe, okay? Yeah.
Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, so so on Twitter, obviously, you get this instant feedback. Sometimes people will tag me in them, but very often, I would have to, first season comes out, I want to know, what do people think? So you search Cupcake War host Justin on Twitter, and you'd see some bad stuff. And then it got a little better over time, and then once the show got really popular, there was just a ton of it. And there was positive stuff, but there was just a lot of bad stuff, comically bad stuff that I loved. And then I think after a couple of years when I was just a little more secure and understanding that's a good thing, that you can't put anything out there without there being equal amounts of negative response to positive response, then I just kind of started to take joy in it. But it's easy because social media gives everybody a voice to say what they want to say and gripe about what they want to gripe about, and then it's so easy for them to have a direct access to us. And as these sensitive performers and entertainers that we are, it's easy for that stuff to bum you out.
Sure.
So I enjoy sometimes having a snarky reply to those things or faving them, sometimes just to let people know. Because sometimes they'll freak out. They'll be like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't think you'd see that. I'm kidding," which is not what I'm going for. I'm not but But I think
like
people need to know that their words matter. People need to know that their words can hurt and will reach you.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And that's what some people want. But a lot of times people are just trying to be funny, and they don't think that you'd ever see it. We can pull up some of them later if you want. Some ones that I haven't.
I would love
shared.
that. That would be great.
I used to do a bit in my show, like when I would do comedy clubs where I talk about Cupcake Wars, because that's where a lot of people know me from, and I don't do that show anymore. Now I don't even mention it. It's just, it was always such a small part of my life. It's like, I've got some jokes I could do about it, but I'd rather not remind you of that. I'd rather have this be what you know me for now.
I'm glad I brought it up.
Yeah. But I used to do a bit where I would like have audience members read those tweets out loud. Like, kind of a Kimmel mean tweets thing. Yeah. But people would think they're funny, but I think they mostly were like, oh no. And then after the show, they'd be like, we loved you on the show. And I was like, I think they're interpreting this as a cry for help as opposed to just trying to be funny.
This is too real.
It's too real. Yeah, so I left it out. But I still curate them. I have some good ones.
Yeah.
But then I have awesome. Like a...
You should pick one for your epitaph.
Yeah. My favorite one is somebody said, Cupcake Wars host looks like someone punched him in the dick and then recorded him hosting a show. Which I can see that. Like, I get it. Because I have to kind of be very, sometimes the posture they make me hold for a long time looks recently dick punched. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
It's a good one. Yeah, there's a lot of them. Just a lot of different ways of calling me a tool. Yeah. Lots of those, yeah. And lots of gay suspicions. Lots of pocket gay. I had to figure out what a pocket gay is.
What is that? I don't know what that is.
A tiny little gay friend you can put in your pocket. That's what people think I am sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. My wife loves that one.
That's pretty good. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, it's like in that episode of Seinfeld where he's, thin and clean and handsome and apparently single. And people
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not that there's anything wrong with it.
Right.
But it's, I don't know. There couldn't have been like a ton of that.
What, right? The mean ones?
No, well, just like the...
There were equal good and bad, but the good ones are, I'm not going to save those. I'm like, fool myself.
Funny.
Yeah, they're not funny. Yeah. But the bad ones are great. And I think it just shows you that, like, it doesn't, like, I played such a small part on that show, maybe, just a few minutes out of every hour, that people would latch on to something like that to gripe about. Yeah. Yeah.
Because it was a great show. They couldn't complain about it.
It was an okay show, yeah. I mean, people like it. It does its job. Yeah. It makes you emotionally invested in that you agree or disagree, and so much so that you want to tweet about it. Yeah. Which is good. You don't want people to kind of just be ambiguous about what you're doing. Whenever I do something and there's nothing about it on social media, I feel like I screwed up.
That's the worst. Apathy is the worst.
Yeah.
Where'd you go after that? What is that? Because, like...
After what?
Well, when you were, back when you were just incredible, your graphics were always really good. Your PR was always, very professionally done. Was that you? Was that somebody in your family? Did you have friends that were really good at it?
I had a buddy, John Morrow was his name, and he was a graphic design buddy that I knew through some mutual friends, and he was just so good. And for years, your website and your posters and your flyers is your brand, know. So I put a lot of time into just always, having kind of fresh stuff that looked cool and looked different than what people thought a magician stuff would look like. Yeah. And became an important part of, my identity and just kind of branding to be unique. Sure. Yeah.
Is there a goal? Is there like a... Because there's been like a pretty steady climb of the Just a Woman brand, from little kid in St. Louis who broke his arm to something that's a great story, and we don't have to take because it's everywhere, but that's a great story.
Yeah, it happened. Yeah. It was a good story. It's only a good story because it worked out.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
but it could have been malpractice stuff right there.
Yeah, but is there a goal, because there has been a very clear and definite rise in...
I mean, there's always little goals along the way. For a while, I was like, man, my dream is to be a guest on the Tonight Show with Jay Leno. It'll be awesome. Yeah. And then, or I want to, do Ellen, or I want to, tour. I want to have put new bits in my show, you know, and then you achieve those things, but it's hard to like take too much time to stop and really revel in that because you're immediately like, okay, what's next? Yeah, what's next? If I can do that, what else can I do, you know? So there's all these little goals. I mean, the big goal, I think, is just to feel creatively fulfilled and have a body of work that you're proud of, because it's never going to be just like, there's never that one thing that once you do that, you're happy, or once you do that, you feel successful, or that you can like stop, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, just look at Copperfield. Copperfield's done everything,
Yep.
and he's still going, which means that you need to like enjoy the process and the journey, you know? So for me to kind of always be evolving as a performer, always be doing new material that feels true and authentic to like who I am now, you know, and what I like, figure out how to do magic about something that means something to people is fun. Like, I mean, a goal would be to have some sort of magic comedy series on TV, you know, one, because I feel like I've got a lot of stuff to get out of, a lot of things that I want to say.
Like what?
Well, so I did a pilot for Comedy Central last year that became a half-hour special, Sleight of Mouth, which basically means it's a pilot that wasn't picked up, but they liked it, so we reformatted it to a special. Now we're going to do a new pilot in March. Totally different show, totally different format. And I like the idea of doing something on Comedy Central because I feel like I don't have to family-friendly it up or make it kind of squeaky, networky. You know, shows like Fool Us and Carbonaro Effect and all these shows that have a wide appeal are great. But I wanted to do a show where I could like use magic and comedy to like tackle a theme or to talk about, you know, racism in America and use magic as the way in, because then it's something you can kind of get away with saying. You can get away with talking about an edgy subject when there's magic involved, just because it kind of, you know, you kind of already feel like a kid again, like you're appreciating the wonder about it, and then when you're using it to tackle more heady topics, it's kind of like, whoa, I didn't expect that to be what that's about. Again, it gets you thinking.
Yeah. And when you're laughing as well, I mean, like Bill Hicks and Carlin and those guys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like I've got a lot of. I don't feel fully like creatively expressed. You know, I want to do something that's never been done before. I don't want to just do magic for magic's sake. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like I feel like I would be selling myself short if I kind of just did something that was just kind of broad and cookie cutter. Like I kind of want to do something a little more unique. But then just having something on TV that people know you from or know you for attracts the right people to come see you. Yeah. You know, so if people know me for like the Comedy Central thing or at midnight or late night talk show stuff, I like that, you know. But there aren't a lot of people who know me from that. More people know me from Cupcake Wars, and they think of me as the
sterile upright
funny guy with the puns and stuff. Yeah. So sometimes those people come to the show expecting that and are pleasantly surprised, but not a lot of people I think would want to come see that guy. That's all they know him from. So the more people who know you for what you really do best, the better your tours will be, the bigger audiences you can play for, the more creatively fulfilled you'll feel. Yeah.
Where does that creative confidence come from? That kind of, you know, I don't feel creatively expressed. I need to put this out. This is something that drives me. And what do you think that emanates from? Because I think a lot of people don't, either they may have it, but they don't know that's what it is, or they don't have it.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm just curious.
Well, I've only like felt this way. I've only felt that whatever that confidence is for the past couple years, which means like I've been doing magic since I was a kid, but then like started, doing magic that was, comedy magic that was, I felt my own unique brand since, college. So then it's been, like 16 years since then. So it's really just been a matter of time and doing a ton of shows. And also like being in the comedy world where hacky stuff just won't cut it. Yeah. Yeah. Like there's this stereotype that that comedians look down upon magicians or prop comics. But I'm really proud of being a magician. I don't want to like sell out that just to be accepted in the comedy world. So I want to work hard to do stuff that comedians who respect authenticity and like originality and stuff that's well written. I want them to respect what I do. So as opposed to surrounding myself with, in the magic world where I think different things are important than in a comedy world. Like in the magic world, it's the trick and how you do the trick and new methods and unique takes on the trick. But very often the presentation or the performance of it is sometimes overlooked, so that it might be really great and appeal to magicians, and but not be as not have the broad appeal for people to appreciate it who wouldn't necessarily go to a magic show. Yeah. But yeah, so honestly, being in the comedy community has been important to just having that confidence to know that you have something to say. You can be funny, as opposed to working on the same act and doing the same act your whole life. Yeah. Be okay throwing stuff out. Be okay starting from scratch. If you were able to get that bit to where it is in the end, whatever that trick is, to be a polished thing within a couple of years, you can do it again and it'll probably be better. Yeah. And it'll be written by the you now as opposed to the you 5 years ago.
I think that's the biggest. There are a lot of similarities between magic and comedy, but I think that's the biggest difference is the constantly, I got to do the new hour. I got to get the new material. I got to be the person I am now instead of the stuff I did with the old.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Now, Mac King, he hones bits and polishes over the years, and you can see that, and they feel great. They feel like just these fine-tuned works of art,
But he's also one of those rare performers that it feels new every time.
Yes. He makes ad-libs and aside that are rehearsed feel very impromptu, which is an art form. Yes. And that's why people can feel like they can go see him again and really get that if it's a different audience, it's a different show, And he's had every situation happen to him, so he has a line for everything that feels like he just thought of it. Yeah. And it makes you feel like you're really watching something that's never happened before. That's exciting for an audience. But there's really no replacement for time and experience. There's guys like Kyle Eschen, who's a teenage magician. He's probably not a teenager anymore, but he had this act when he was a Magic Castle Junior, just kind of this just low energy, kind of nerdy and but very intellectual.
Okay, I think I might know who you're talking about.
He would do classics of magic. Yeah. And he was hilarious. So he was like this. It was mind blowing to see a young kid performer who couldn't have possibly had 15 years of experience because he was probably 15 have this act that was like had a point of view, had a clearly defined persona that was awesome. Yeah. So occasionally there are those exceptions where you're like, how on earth did you figure this out so quick? Yeah. Because for me, it's taken forever. When I was doing colleges for years, the show was very sexual innuendo-y and fun and kind of, because I was, I'm 25, I was 25 or 26, and I looked like I was their age, so I could like make those jokes and, funny dick jokes and stuff, and that's good. That was good at the time. But now I don't think that would work for me anymore because I wouldn't be proud of myself doing those jokes. Sure. But at the time, that's what was funny to me.
And you're just gray enough that it would be creepy.
Yeah, just gray enough. I mean, it's like when I started doing colleges, they were like, "Are you a student?" And then then it was like, "Are you a professor?" And now it's like, "Are you a father? Is your child go here?" And it's too creepy. Yeah. Where's your daughter? Is she out there?
Why do they assume it's a daughter? That's even creepier.
Yeah, that's creepy. Yeah.
So being in the comedy world, who are some of your comedy influences, and then who are some of your favorite comedians now?
Yeah. Okay.
And then I'll do that same question with magicians later. Yeah. But that's far less interesting.
I'd say early comedy influences like Steve Martin, loved. Leno Carson, loved, like Carson's bits with Karnak, and I love the shtick. Comedy bits it was very similar to a magic trick, but it did instead of like a surprisingly trick, just a well-written joke, you know, and that justifies the whole thing.
Sis boom ba.
Yeah, Steve Martin's Flydini, just awesome to take just a simple little magic method and draw it out into something so much more than that. It was a great lesson in using magic as a small cog in a bigger machine as opposed to the whole thing. Sure. Matt King was a great early comedy influence as well as a magic influence. But now I love, like Bo Burnham,
great.
He's a genius.
Yes, absolutely.
I've done a couple shows with him and just get to watch him do what he does, and you feel like you're in the presence of just some next level thinker, and then it also bums you out because you're like, how am I ever gonna?
There's no way.
Write something like that. Why can't my brain work that way?
Yeah.
Dennis Miller, I used to love, not so much anymore.
I feel like that's how everybody is.
But like Dimitri Martin, huge fan. Like I love these guys who are comics who are eclectic in that it's not just stand up. There occasionally is a little prop, or maybe there's music and songs. I love variety. So like the idea of a comic having a show that really feels like a true variety show is awesome to me.
Do you think that's because you have a short attention span?
Maybe. And maybe just because I love, that's the kind of show that I like to put on, whenever I would do monthly shows at Largo or at Meltdown or something and I loved having on, Scott Neary, my pancake juggler buddy, or Loudermilk, Swallowing Swords. Like I love having a show where I was able to showcase all this stuff that people never get a chance to see.
Yeah.
That we see a lot because we're magicians, so we're in this variety arts world.
Yeah.
But people don't get to see that.
Yeah.
So it makes for a fun show.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And probably short attention span, for sure.
Well, I just wondered. You brought it up first.
Yeah. And then magic influences, obviously, at first, it's, Harry Blackstone Jr. and Copperfield and Lance Burton.
Sure.
And then when I was old, I always loved Penn and Teller, but then as I got older, to really start to see the next level stuff that they're doing, when you're old enough to appreciate it. When I watched them do their flag burning bit for the first time in Boston, I was in college and they were doing a theater there, and it just blew my mind. It was so simple and beautiful and poetic. And that's an example of like, when they put the bit in, it's almost pretty much done, pretty polished. They might tweak a couple things that are invisible to us, but it's like, for them, it opened my mind to seeing how magic and comedy can exist as a piece of theater, as opposed to performance. Just beautiful theater. So they take it there for me. David Williamson as a comedy and magic influence has always been huge.
Yeah.
Dana Daniels, love. And I love great men. I love Ossie, watching him perform. Mm-hmm. So tight and so smart. That there's gears turning in his head that I know that I don't have, that are fun to watch.
He's also a funny performer.
Yeah.
Which, looking at his tricks, you might not guess that. But he's a very entertaining and, jokey.
Very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is nice, because that balances out, something that could come off as kind of Rain Man-y. Mm-hmm. But he makes it... he adds that little bit of self-deprecatingness, so you're like, whoa, he's a real person too. Yeah. Which is fun to watch. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of his jokes are a step ahead. Maybe not jokes. Maybe bits is a better way to say that, or a step ahead. Mm-hmm. A step ahead. Or he does a bit where he's like, this part is so good, I like to come out into the audience and watch it myself. And so he comes out and he walks up to a guy and he's like, sir, would you please stand up? And it's like he's gonna do something for him, and then he's like, stand here, and then he just sits down in his chair. It's like, what he's gonna do, but it feels
he wants to watch himself. He says,
yeah. It's funny. Yeah, just
Derek Hughes also is he's kind of been a friend, and when I first moved to LA, kind of became a mentor, because he also was in the comedy scene equally and the magic scene.
Yeah,
and always pushed me to ditch anything that was hacky or others were doing.
Yeah.
For the sake of having an original point of view.
I remember the first time I saw Derek, it was the hardest I'd ever laughed.
Yeah.
It was
Where was it?
Amazing. It was the second Magic Con. My first Magic convention.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing his Professor's Nightmare routine.
So good.
I will now...
Yeah, walk into the audience.
Receive
fellatio.
Yeah, and that, I lost my mind.
Yeah.
It was so funny. And then I saw Matt King perform at the same convention. Again, hardest time I've ever laughed. That was
Have you seen Williamson live?
Yes. Again, just such a... He'll do anything for the laugh. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, incredible.
I was talking to Gary Plants at Magi Fest,
mm-hmm.
and he said, he was like, I had my wife with me, and we were at this convention, and David was there, and my wife's sister-in-law and her friend were coming to the hotel to, see my wife. And they were up at the front desk, and I said to David, hey, go do something for those ladies.
Mm-hmm.
And so David walks up to him, and he puts on his most suave, characteristics and leans against the lobby counter. He's talking to him, just really laying it on, and his pants just fall down in the middle of it. Like, that kind of willingness to just, go full on to get it. It's just so amazing, and so, I don't know, it's like energizing to see
that was important
commit.
for me as a young magician, to see him come to a convention and be so funny, to see somebody do great magic and be super hilarious.
Yeah.
So funny. Because he's kind of like, has elements of Jim Carrey and Steve Martin in him.
Yeah.
Just absurdism, where the trick he's doing is awesome and brilliant and tight, but it's almost like the trick is a throwaway.
Yeah.
It's just means to get up there and have shtick to do.
Goof around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good. I'd like to. I've got coffee with him once. I've always wanted to be closer friends with him because he's so good.
He's so good. It's terribly intimidating. Not to mention that he's a giant.
Yeah, I mean the magic world, man, is this rare world where you can get pretty these people that you idolize. It doesn't take long, and it's such a small world where you can quickly meet and hang with these guys and find yourself at a Denny's after a magic convention with your hero.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah,
and sometimes there can be instances where it's a bummer, like where your hero's a dick or something. So I feel like we all need to because
we all have that story too.
We're all so accessible. Everyone's so accessible in the magic community, and if there's somebody if you want to walk up to anybody, if you want to walk up to Matt King after seeing him for the first time and have a chat with him, you can.
Yeah.
And it's great when guys like Mac are super sweet and just the best. Yeah. I don't know any other world where a beginner who just gets into it can meet the master, and hang. I mean, the Magic Castle, this happens every night. It's wild.
Yeah. And there aren't many performance professions, as far as I'm aware, that have conventions like magic conventions where it's pretty much come meet me.
Who's who?
Yeah.
I mean, Magic Live this past year, because I don't do many magic conventions, but that was one. I mean, anybody that was there just to attend.
Yeah.
It was wild. Yeah.
It's inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
It's energizing. I remember, it feels like, there's just enough magic conventions that right as you start to get burned out, you go to one and you go, oh yeah, I remember why I do this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's about the hang. I mean, really, the best part comes in the hang. Because it is an awesome community, man. It is. I mean, say what you will about the drama that pops up here and there. Like, it is incredible, the cool people that are all doing the same thing, and that everyone's out kind of making their living in their fun way, and that we can kind of come and convene, and that it's not as backstabbing, I don't think, as the comedy world. It's like it's just a great hang. Good people.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking, you said backstabbing, and Joan Rivers and Johnny Carson jumped into my head.
Yeah.
By the way, that documentary, that American Masters thing that Kevin Spacey narrates, changed
For Carson?
Yeah.
Yeah, so good.
So good.
So good. I loved at the end that you're watching him do split fans.
Yeah.
Rehearsing his monologue for his final Tonight Show.
Yeah.
And you realize that, magic was his rosebud. Yeah. The thing that kind of kept him in touch with his true passions the whole time.
I immediately bought an old copy of Hoffman's book. I went on eBay. I watched that and I was like, I gotta have that edition of that
Which
book.
Which book?
Hoffman's Modern Magic.
Is that what he was? Is that what Carson was flipping through?
Yeah, that's the book that he got when he was a kid.
Wow. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
I got obsessed with Carson, which rightfully so, reasonably so. It was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was always cool to hear these stories about people who were great successes in comedy who got their start in magic, because it's kind of like was this nice little foot in the door. Arsenio and Steve Martin and Carson. And Carson, of course, being a great champion for magic over the years, having so much magic on his show. I love that Lance Burton story.
I don't know this one.
So Lance was doing. He was doing. I think he was performing at the Body Shop, the strip club on Sunset. He was like the non-naked person doing his doves. which you'd think would be the hardest gig.
Yeah.
You know, because girl just did her thing. There was dollar bills everywhere. She's picking it up, and ladies and gentlemen, Lance Burton comes out and kid in a tux and making doves appear. And I think by the end, people were yelling for him to come back when his set was done. So he would convert even the toughest crowds. So he, I think, and then he was doing an It's Magic show out here in the LA area, and the Carson Booker came and was like, "We'd like for you to do the show," and his act was like 12 minutes. It's a 12-minute act. So I think he came to do a rehearsal that afternoon at the Tonight Show, and Lance actually told me the story that he ran his set because they were going to try to figure out what's the 6 minutes. We need to cut this from 12 down to 6, or something like that. And he did the whole 12. He hears this lone standing ovation in the audience. And turns out that was Johnny. And Johnny whispered to his producer, "Let the kid do the whole 12.
Jesus.
So they had him do the full 12 minutes, which took up the whole act of television. But Carson was like, I can't tell him to cut anything. Yeah. You can't cut it. You can't. It's perfect. Yeah. Which is cool. Which would be unheard of today.
Yeah. For
the host of a show to take a stand like that, to insist that they break a mold of break the format so heavily.
Yeah. It's for a magician.
For a magician.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing.
That is...
Yeah.
I
that
can't
act
even
is
imagine.
Perfection. That act is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How old was Lance at this time?
He might have been 19 or 20. I don't know the exact timeline, but I think he was about that age. Then won all the national championships and won FISM, I think at 21 or 22. Mm-hmm. And then maybe that was the Tropicana show after that. I don't know, but he was young kid.
Do you think there's going to be a time, I don't know, there's a lot more magic on TV now. Do you think there's going to be a host of a show that's going to allow something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I could see...
Because it feels like things are moving towards, the pendulum swings back and forth. It feels like stuff is going more long form. Mm-hmm. Now it's kind of inching back towards...
You think so?
I think so.
AGT would always be these 90-second spots, and now they're longer. You're right, the longer form, 3-4 minutes sometimes. You watch Penn and Teller Fool Us, and it's a whole act of the TV, a whole act of television, watching that one performer do their set, sometimes 6-7 minutes. Which is rare, so it's amazing. It could be. I mean, there's hosts like Neil Patrick Harris or something like that. I know his Best Time Ever show didn't have that kind of flexibility because it was live.
Yeah.
But if he hosted a late night talk show or a variety show, I'm sure he would be a great champion for magic.
Sure.
Yeah.
You were talking about Penn and Teller on stage in Boston doing the flag burning, and that sounds like, because they're they have a point of view and they have a message, and that sounds like, sort of what you were talking about when you
want to do magic
working
that's
on this
about
new
something.
show.
Yes. I mean, for them, seeing that was like, wow, social commentary magic. That's amazing. Yeah. The fact that they were able to do a bit about something that left you, amazed and in awe and thinking was great, because magic has the potential to be an incredible visual metaphor, and the bit they do with the Bill of Rights, and then just the clear plastic cellophane, and then it's so good. All their bits are so well thought out to be about things, and for me, I think that's what makes me feel really rewarded when I do it. When I do something that I feel like is, means something, even if it's something silly, even doing magic for high people at a pot store, but have the bit be that everyone sees how it's done, but they don't. I mean, I feel like that extra layer kind of is, it's about medical marijuana. It's about, does marijuana make people stupid? Which it doesn't. I mean, obviously I could do paper balls over a head to anybody, but giving it context just adds an extra layer. And if you don't do that, sometimes it's just a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Is your show going to be, and obviously I'm sure you can't talk about everything, but is that kind of the, not man on the street, but are you going to be out performing, or is it going to be stuff
it's going to be it's going to kind of be out in the world, kind of okay, for example, so Trump wants to build a wall between the U.S. and Mexico. So do a bit where we go to Tijuana and we do the classic walking through the wall, but with Mexicans coming from one side to the other. which is silly and ridiculous, but it's a way to
it's a metaphor.
Talk about the immigration problem and do something that feels wrong. Like it kind of, like especially if we build this wall, and it would be a way to do a classical trick in a way that
socially
that means
relevant.
something. Yeah. And so stuff like that. I'd like to the idea of the show would be using magic to, instead of help people escape their problems, to literally solve their problems.
Yeah.
Racism, police brutality, income inequality, women's rights. Yeah.
This is a lofty goal.
Yeah. But in a idealistic, tongue-in-cheek way.
Yeah. It's all about the conversation.
Yeah.
It's about bringing it out. That's what the best comics do.
That's like why the Daily Show is so just groundbreaking, the fact that they can have such incredible writing about such relevant things every night.
Yeah.
If they can write a new 30 minutes every night about what's happening in the world and have it be brilliant, there's no reason why we can't be making our material better and stronger and more relevant all the time. Yeah. Yeah. Even though we are, our own writer, director, performer, like we are all little one-man operations, unless you're working on a project where you can hire people on, which rarely happens. So, we do have to work really hard ourselves, but you can do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And is that something that do you see? I mean, I know you see a lot of it in comedy because that's kind of the culture of it, is do stuff that matters, even if it's totally banal, it's still honest and true to yourself. And that's what, people, that's what resonates with people. Do you find that there are magicians doing that? Enough magicians doing that? Do you think there ought to be more?
I mean, if it's not your thing, then if you don't feel like you have something true to say that's like about the world, that's fine. And like you watch, like Ed Alonzo is one of my favorites. It makes me laugh so hard, and it's just really clearly defined character, super great magic, and produced and theatrical enough that just really does something you haven't seen before. Like so, and like Matt King, for example, it's just good, clean fun. Well written classics dressed up in new ways. His guinea pig, all the phases of that routine are so perfectly laid out. It's a chop cup at the guinea pig production. It's like all these, but all done with ordinary objects like that. That's beautiful. Arthur Trace, I don't know if you've ever seen him perform. His magic is just well thought out, insightful, brilliant. I mean, Derek and Helder's show was some next level shit. And their show wasn't about politics or anything like that, but it was just about something. Yeah. It was about mystery and wonder and pushing the boundaries of what you think we can get you to feel with just a deck of cards. Yeah. You know what I mean? Getting the same reaction and creating buzz and emotional tension that Copperfield does with a whole big stage show, you can do it with a deck of cards. It's pretty cool, By giving yourself, I think, specificity or restrictions, you can sometimes do more.
Absolutely,
Like, as opposed to just like, what trick should I do? Like it'd be fun, I think, to have a buddy who you can give yourself these little challenges. Okay, you're going to do a trick about Iran and this nuclear deal. Yeah. But you have to do it. It's an egg bag. So you have to do an egg bag you have a week. And then when you're given these parameters, I think that you figure it out. And then you create something amazing. Yeah. But if it's just do anything with anything about anything, it's too overwhelming.
Absolutely.
So I like specificity.
How do you make the specificity happen in your own material?
Well, let's see, like when we did when I did this web series on the Nerdist channel called Magic Meltdown, and we did like 16 episodes, and I wrote it with Vinny DePonto, Jeff Kaler, and Derek Hughes, and we sat down for a couple weeks and we're like, kind of had writer's room hours, and we decided what is the show, what's it about, and we decided to do a thematic show. So you could use magic to express a point of view about different themes: food, kids, religion, love, dating, sex, lust, all these things. So now if you're like, okay, let's do a food episode, and then you're immediately focused, and you're like, wow, okay, we could do, carded lemon or whatever. Like, there's so much food magic, and that gives you kind of a narrow place to go. If you're doing money, if you're doing an episode about money, then you could. There's the idea of like, how do I do ones to hundreds and make it a social commentary about income inequality, So giving yourself blinders and focus, for me, I think we were able to come up with some great stuff. Yeah. And then those bits then can go into your act, and they don't have to be, but they were created out of, intense magnification, and that works well for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It just seems, I mean, maybe not for you, but it seems difficult to construct, bits, tricks, routines with the hectic schedule that you have and the limitations you put on yourself in that way.
Yeah.
I mean, it just has to happen. You just have to do it. But
it's true. I mean, you have to use, like, when I'm in Madison, Wisconsin this weekend, I've got to use that as the gym, like you're using these comedy clubs on the road I don't want to just show up and do the show that's safe. Like, I want to force myself to put something new in the show and work out some stuff, because it's a great opportunity to have 6 audiences who maybe have never seen any of this stuff before. And because I'm doing an hour or 70 minutes, I can pop a couple new things in there. And if they flop, I know what's coming next is going to work. And, putting new stuff in the show is very nerve-wracking, but you got to do it. So for me, just using those opportunities to try out the new stuff is great. When you come back to LA and you work a week at the Magic Castle, you don't necessarily want to use that as a chance to try out new stuff. You want to do everything you want to do hit. You want to hit every time. So that's important. But it is, man, every day I'm like, I didn't do everything I wanted to do today. There's just not enough hours in the day. And that's why I think you need to just
How was your soul not crushed by going to bed like that every day?
Yeah. Well, that's like, if you put expectations on your day, you're going to be disappointed.
Of
so
course.
You need to if there's a couple things you got to tick off at the beginning, great. But other than that, do what makes you feel, creatively fulfilled. Push all you got to have a bunch of irons in the fire, I think, and you got to be constantly pushing those forward. When you live in LA long enough, you realize that a lot of things are going to sizzle out and not happen. And, you kind of go from putting all your eggs in one basket when you're fresh and new here, and you think that first gig is going to be your big break, and it doesn't go anywhere. And you realize that, for me, the mindset is just to build a body of work, to always just be working on something new, because every little thing you do will just kind of recruit new fans who dig that kind of thing, until you have some big show that is a huge calling card for you. It's just these little things, I think, that help make you happy, and just give the people a little bit more to chew on, just to constantly be creating.
Yeah. Well, are you able to create much in your show? I know it's hard to improvise with magic, because there's a method and there's a strict structure of a trick and a routine. How much of the crowd working out at the gym do you get when you're on the road and things like that?
I mean, every trick that involves an audience person or somebody who comes on stage is just a chance for fun crowd work. So when I'm doing the cup over head bit, if I've got a guy up there who's a hand, I might get 7 minutes in with him before I even start the trick. So and that's all stuff that's not now I have that 7 minutes, I can do it tomorrow, because it's stuff that just happens once. And that's why it's great, is because it's this guy and everyone knows that he's just a guy. Could have been this other guy, it could have been anybody.
This is special for everyone.
This is special. This doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah.
And it's temporary, so that kind of stuff I just try to cherish and enjoy while it happens, and get better at crowd work, just like we're talking about Mac, rehearse bits seem off the cuff. So every time funny stuff happens, it files itself in there. So
it's like an out. In magic.
When you meet a guy who's an engineer again, you can use that line again, whatever you thought of that was funny. So those those are fun, but those aren't the gym, So for me, I'm working on a new a cut and restored rope routine that's kind of a riff on that Magic for High people, but kind of a classic kind of paper balls over the head vibe that I've been wanting to do since I was 17, and I'm finally now like putting this thing in the show. So I'm going to use every show I have as an opportunity to figure out what this bit is about.
Why did it take so long to?
Why did it take so long? Well, there's certain tricks that are like that have an element to them that is like super ballsy. That's easy to psych yourself out.
Okay.
And not do.
Yeah.
I close with this number bit, that is. I remember. Well, came out of necessity. Like I couldn't do what was my closer while I'm flying to New York to do this show. What I was closing with was just done by somebody else on TV, and I was like, well, I don't want to have people be like, oh, is that thing, So I was like, let me just close with something else. So on the flight, my buddy and I came up with this new trick that if I didn't need to do something new, I probably would have wimped out and not done it, because it's just like a ballsy thing, and there's so many things that could go wrong. And it's your closer, so that it could only be made awkward by messing it up. But by forcing myself to do it, I got it in, and then I'm honing, and now I have this thing that for me it feels safe and cozy, even though it is super ballsy. So I think just like the rope trick, I feel like it's a ballsy thing that, like, if you do anything that is paper balls over the heady, in that the spectator could, if they see it, the trick's the gig is up. Is a little bit scary to me. So getting stuff like that in so that it feels really tight and confident is important.
So that's the gym.
Exactly. Except a little more water here. Fun.
Do you want a refill?
Of water?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
I can do that?
Yeah.
And we're back.
Ta-da! It was like no time passed.
Mm-hmm. When did the podcast launch?
Whenever the site launches, which will be mid to late February.
The site is the Art of Magic.
Yeah.
Nice.
And
what's that site all about? Is the podcast just one of many things on this the site that people are looking at right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
People are listening and looking at the site, trying to figure out what they want to buy. It's just streaming magic tutorials, blog posts written by great magicians, performers, and things like that. We're gonna have the podcast. We're gonna have some web series that we're currently developing.
Cool.
That we may be interested in including you on.
Fun.
Actually, we're definitely interested in including you on, but we have to wait until we
got the green lights and everything.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool.
But anyway, it's neat. It's fun. So it's kind of we're thinking about it as like the iTunes of magic.
Got it. And not just for magicians, but also an entry level.
Yes.
Place.
Yeah. An entry level place, and also not even just for people interested in magic per se, but things that are magical. So the web series that we're working on is much more geared towards performance and sort of theoretical. It's like a roundtable discussion, theoretical discussion about performing. To have comedians, musicians, magicians get on there and talk about their different experiences and why this thing works and this thing doesn't work, and
nice
what the different things feel for how they make the audience feel. Things like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Do you do most of your touring by yourself? Do you take guys on the road with you?
I tour. I mean, mostly over the years it's been solo. Lately, I take, when I'm doing the clubs, if I can bring a comedian buddy as my feature act, I will. Daniel Kino is my comedian pal who, who's been one of my best friends forever, but helps me kind of work on new material. He's also just one of the funniest people I know, so I'll bring him to open when he's available, which is great. But for the most part, it's solo. I mean, sometimes I'll bring, if it's like a corporate and there's extra travel money, I'll bring somebody to kind of help set up. But I'm kind of a micromanager more than I'd like to be, in that I really,
you want to be able to
gotta set it all up and everything like that, which makes it a little more stressful. But yeah, because I don't have that, I don't have the road crew. I don't have you know, stage manager, tour manager, doing all that stuff. So it's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does your wife feel about all this traveling and stuff? Because I know I'm 22, and you know I'm thinking about going out and finding a lady or meeting a lady or being with a person that is going to, hopefully one day be my wife. And what's that going to be like? Depending on if I'm traveling or performing or things like that. How does that work?
Well, I mean, she loves what I do for a living. She comes a lot with me on the road when possible, when it's somewhere interesting, when it's not just like a there and back one-nighter. Mm-hmm. She's come with me to Madison because she went to college in Madison, so that'll be fun. Mm-hmm. Next weekend we're doing a club in Columbus, Ohio. She's coming with me because it's Valentine's Day, and the Sunday night show, market it because it's Valentine's Sunday night show. We're going to market as Justin and Jill's first Valentine's, so we're going to do like a little comedy kind of drug history.
That's so sweet. Yeah, I love the drug history videos. Right?
Yeah, so she comes when it's fun. But she's like, because she's a photographer, she has a podcast, she's a creator as well, doesn't have like an office job.
Sure.
That's possible.
Yeah.
But if it was the other way around, it could be really difficult because, I think what attracts me to her, and I'm sure anybody who I've been in a relationship with is kind of like independent, somebody who is doing something on their own, that is their thing, has their own hopes and dreams and passions and goals, and that's what makes you attracted to them, and that's what makes them attracted to you. So you want to be careful you don't absorb them into your life so that they don't have anything going on for themselves except for you. I feel like that can be a slippery slope.
Yes.
Because you want to be inspired. You want to inspire each other with your different things. So I love having her tell me about this thing that she's writing or thing that she's doing. Like, it gets me excited. But at first, my instinct would always be like, just quit that job, quit the job, and come with me, and we'll you don't need to. We'll make enough money. We're good.
Yeah.
Because I'm used to have more like codependent tendencies. I want to smother you and soak you up.
Yeah.
But that doesn't end well. When they your partner will feel creatively stagnant and dependent on you, and you want to the best you can kind of find balance. But I'm really lucky that she can come when it's something interesting to her.
Yeah.
I used to do cruise ships every once in a while, and she will never go on a cruise, so that'll never happen.
Why will she never go?
She just, because people get norovirus on cruise ships, or everyone is puking for 4 days, or the ship gets abandoned in the middle of the water, which has never happened to me, but, some people have their certain fears, so I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Yeah. But like for our honeymoon, it was a corporate gig in Bali that came up a couple weeks before our wedding that we ended up, it became like the perfect thing that she was able to come with me for, and we were able to make a honeymoon out of it. So the fact that we get to go to exotic places and get paid for it as magicians is amazing.
Yeah.
To go do card tricks to the other side of the world is crazy.
It's a pretty good argument to be made for dating magicians. Like, well, I get to go to these places.
And these days, obviously, with technology and connectivity being what it is, she used to be an online photography teacher, so she would have to grade photos and do these things but she could do it from anywhere with an internet connection. So it is pretty cool what we're able to do.
Do you think that social media is doing good things for magicians?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like people who dig magic now, who are not magicians, just magic fans, have access to so many different magic genres, and seeing clips like Shin Lim's Fool Us clip blow up, and that's something that it's just people can now get to what they want and appreciate it and find more stuff like that. So people can now. I have a lot of people who are not magicians who say, bring up acts that they've seen on Fool Us, and then get into a YouTube hole where they see a bunch of cool stuff that they never would have seen.
Yeah.
So that's great. The shareability of it you know, and Facebook shareability of these videos is awesome. I feel like if there's anything, the negative would be people who are new to magic thinking that the successful way to approach magic is to create short little shareable snippets versus also being able to perform live.
Sure.
You know, I feel like for me, I mean, I just didn't have a choice, so I came up having to learn magic from VHSs or library books, and then it was never about like shooting myself and putting it online. It was about shows, like what can I do in front of people, what works. You know, having a regular restaurant gig enabled me to get really good at whatever card tricks were in my repertoire and chop cup and all these things, like so I could perform for real people in a real life situation in any setting, loud, surrounded, whatever, as opposed to getting good at performing for, you know, the camera or whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like the whole point of, you know, having things online and shareable to be your calling card is to hopefully get people to want to hire you and come see you live. I mean, that's at least my formula. It doesn't have to be that way.
Sure.
I mean, if you can monetize it and make a living, you know, just using your magic on social media, which I think some people can, that's cool. But for me, I love, you know,
The live aspect.
The live aspect, yeah.
And the sort of it sounds gross to say like the connections that can be made that way, but you know that is what it is
Mm-hmm.
you know, reaching more people and having them become interested.
Exactly. I mean, then another negative would just be, I mean, obviously you can find out how anything works if you search on YouTube and all the, you know, any trick with the word revealed or tutorial, you can find it. I feel like people who shouldn't find it rarely do. You know, like, you know, the people rarely go through the effort to figure out the trick. How do you do that? I don't know. I want to tell me. They're not going to go look it up.
Yeah.
But YouTube comments, like after they see something awesome and you can't help but scroll to see what people are talking about, people, and what gets voted at the top and stirs all these conversations is people doing spoilers.
Yeah.
I think that's a bummer. I think that it kind of just too quickly spoils the wonder and awe that somebody might have had about something, you know? And I think is encouraging the wrong way to think about why we're doing magic in the first place.
Yeah.
You know? Because you can watch a bit that maybe there was just one little... I mean, imagine Steve Martin's Flightini, which is this great comedy bit. You know, they're going to be talking about, oh, it's a fake hand, you know, oh, it's a fake hand, blah, blah, blah. And that's not what it's about.
No.
So...
it robs the theater of it.
Right.
It trivializes.
But in the end, more positive than negative.
Yeah.
It's coming out of
Yeah.
just social media and magic.
Yeah. And I think just, you know, the conversation. And, you know, I grew up in Louisiana in a place where there were no magicians. And I was lucky to have, you know, the online books and videos and community.
Right. And then you could show your move or what, you know, to somebody and you could get instant feedback from magicians that you trust.
Yeah.
That you would never be able to see in person because you're, you know, in a different place.
Yeah.
So it's pretty incredible.
Do you think so? You said when you were a kid you wanted to be funny.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you weren't already funny, but it was just like something that you were conscious of. Do you think you got into comedy because you wanted to do stuff live, or do you think you were performing so much live because you were interested in being funny?
Well, I think
because you can't be funny alone.
Right.
Yeah.
I think before I was really like necessarily funny on stage, I was always like funny in person, hanging, you know, like when I'm with my friends, you know, I feel like one of my skills is just kind of, I mean, for better or for worse, for years, it was just puns. Like my brain sometimes works really quick and kind of could have just a funny pun or just quick things to make my friends laugh, you know? Yeah.
Is that natural? Is that something that you
I think
honed?
it was just natural. I mean, just like obviously like we watch comedy on TV and see stand up and watch SNL and see these things and watch late night where we can see how an ad lib and a side works and what the tone is and what the pace is and why it's funny and you know, there's like a rhythm to it, you know, there's a music to it that you don't necessarily seek out to learn, but you just absorb. Your brain gets it. You know when you say something funny.
You know when
and you know when you miss.
Yeah.
And you know Like, I know sometimes when I'm with my friends now, like I and that's where the confidence comes is from knowing, being able to,
knowing that you're good at it.
Knowing it's going to be funny before it comes out of your mouth means that you can then deliver it in a really strong manner that makes it funnier because it was really quick and not overthought and few words and not hoping that you like it. You just, you get that confidence from years of feedback and trial and error.
Do you laugh at your own riffs like that?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. That's my favorite thing.
I mean, sometimes
I make myself laugh.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, and it drives. I mean, obviously, my wife. Like, I will scrape the bottom of the barrel sometimes, puns and things like that, because it just makes me happy and gets lots of eye rolls from her. But I love that part of my brain. Not necessarily like, because I don't really sit down and like write a joke, but I will see what kind of comes off the cuff and refine that, and then that becomes the pattern that kind of carries me over time, little asides and stuff like that. Yeah.
Do you think that can be learned? Because I hear from people in comedy, like, you can't learn how to be funny,
right?
But funny people take improv classes and they learn how to do improv.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not totally convinced that you can't learn to be funny, though I have no evidence or experience.
Well, I mean, it's like it's interesting because you can learn how to be a musician, you can learn how to play an instrument, but you can't necessarily learn how to be a virtuoso. You can't necessarily learn you can learn how to play music, but you can't necessarily learn how to write music.
Yeah.
I mean, you can learn how to write music, but you can't necessarily learn how to write brilliant music. Sometimes it just happens. People have a gift. So, with comedy, people can learn how to tell a joke, learn how to, write a joke. So you can learn how to make people laugh, but I don't know if you can necessarily learn how to innately be funny if you aren't. Like, people can get, if that makes any sense, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I see exactly what you're saying. I just wonder if there's because the more you're steeped in something, the more fluid it becomes in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always been fascinated by people, putting in their 10,000 hours and just it becoming part of them,
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if somebody who isn't funny, who doesn't have a sense of humor, can't develop one and it become a natural throw out a joke, riff, bit thing.
I mean, but then could you say maybe that person had it there all along, that there was a thing there?
Checkmate. That's what you just did.
I don't know. It's, I can't, I have friends who will admit that they are not funny, that they, like, my buddy, like, I think there's something to be said for, well, no, like, so Justin Flom,
not
one of my good friends, well, he says, I'm not funny. I'm not, because he used to also, build himself as a comedy magician, and he's funny, he's a funny performer. He knows how to tell a joke, he knows how to get a laugh, he knows how to do a trick, and he knows where the comedy could come from, but he doesn't think he is doesn't consider himself a comedian, doesn't think he's exudes. He doesn't think being funny is his strongest suit. Mm-hmm. He's a great magician. He knows how to present magic that is strong and direct, and he knows how to work a crowd.
Yeah.
So he stopped marketing himself as a comedian, you know what I mean, or as a comedy magician. So I think there's a strength in knowing what you're good at and what you're not great at.
Yeah.
And not try to force something that isn't really there. I mean, everyone calls himself a comedy magician these days, But why not just call yourself a magician and have people be pleasantly surprised when funny stuff happens? There's something there to be said.
I think there's probably I think we're still fighting against that stereotype of what a magician is, and so adding comedy to that label kind of softens the blow.
Mm-hmm.
Or makes it more palatable.
True.
I think people are...
Because if they just hear magician, they're like,
I think people are...
What is that? What kind?
Afraid to say that about themselves.
Yeah, comedy magician. Okay, all right. So it'll be fun.
It'll be fun.
That's good. That's good to know. It'll be fun. Yeah, I see what you mean.
That makes sense. It's probably, it doesn't matter if it's true or not. It makes sense.
I mean, I know there are definitely people who who aren't funny, who work really hard to be funny, and just doesn't feel organic to them.
Yeah, and it also doesn't feel organic to anyone else either.
Right.
When they didn't.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. It's such a weird thing. Just the energy of it. There's like a tactile feeling of funny.
Mm-hmm.
An electricity kind of.
Yeah.
Thing. Yeah, I really like that.
And it comes in in all shapes and forms, and there's something funny about someone who's not trying to be funny. When like with magic, it's this tension release. So somebody who's not even trying to go for laughs, but when they break the tension with just like like Ossie, he's not a comedy magician.
Yeah, no.
But because he does really strong magic and creates this tension and intensity, when he delivers an aside or a deadpan break, it kills just as big as a big joke would kill.
Yeah.
Because it's unexpected.
Mm-hmm. It's a way of manipulating the audience.
Exactly.
But again, I think that's a like an intuition about it. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe comedy is just intuition done in a way that's unexpected and observant.
Yes. I mean, it's about saying an exact right place and right time.
Yeah. And
sometimes the opportunity will pass, and you just need to ditch it and move on. Otherwise, it's like, well, that was 20 seconds ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I already told this story on another podcast, but I'm going to repeat it because I think you'll appreciate it. I was at the Getty Villa with someone who is Jewish. And we were in the gift shop, and there was a book on the shelf that says, The Story of the Jews. The title of it is The Story of the Jews.
Mm-hmm.
And I point to the book, and I'm like, hey, look, there's a book about you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, The Story of the Jews. And the person behind the counter looks at us, deadpan. It ends better than you think.
Ha!
And it was the most perfect thing I'd ever heard in the moment. Totally, we weren't even conscious of him being there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, The Story of the Jews, and he looks over. It ends better than you think.
That's funny.
It was the hardest I've laughed in recent memory.
Wow.
It was incredible. It was so perfect, and it was delivered in such a way. It was like lightning struck.
Wow.
It was amazing.
That's funny. Yeah. Right place, right time. Few words.
There's like an
you don't need to overkill.
Of,
you don't need to throw everything you got.
There's economy of motion, economy of language.
Yes.
The linguistics of it are fascinating.
It's true.
Yeah. Do you play with that kind of stuff? Do you do the Seinfeld thing where you take out a syllable or you adjust a word? Or
Yeah, I'm not as
methodological.
Methodic and scripted, and looking at the, I've got the show scripted, but I don't like. I might go back to it because I maybe forgot a joke, and I'm trying to remember what was that joke that was in there. Great.
Yeah. But, you like the freedom of having
the
room to breathe.
Right, exactly. But there is something to say for that, obviously, because I will do a bit. I think I'm saying it the same way, but man, that didn't go over well. Mm-hmm. There's something wrong, and it is amazing the little tiny things that make a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you film your shows?
I don't film all of them. I audio record all of them.
Speaking of which, when's your album coming out?
Oh yeah, we're talking about that.
At
some point. We're going to do that.
Okay.
I just like the idea of doing something that seems really stupid, but I feel like it wouldn't be stupid doing.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, that's some of Steve Martin's greatest bits on his albums.
Yes, we're very visual.
Physical comedy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it makes you. I think it creates the theater of the mind, and it makes you almost be a little more enraptured, wondering what's going on, and making the audience laugh like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you do audio record your.
I do because I. We'll go back and listen to how I said it. If that was a great one, I want to go back and listen to that. Just to tighten it up, and it's also very, painstaking process because when you listen to it, you're like, God, I'm saying so many more things than I need to. I'm talking so much, unnecessary,
Yeah.
And I think that's just as a performer over the years, needing to make sure there's no dead air, so you just kind of fill.
Yeah.
But yeah, listening to the show is really helpful for me.
Yeah. Does the silence make you uncomfortable? Is that why? Not just because there shouldn't be dead air, but are you like physically uncomfortable when there is?
No, I mean, I think you watch good comedy and between bits, it's just kind of take a sip of water and the silence gets everyone very back in tune to the show.
Yeah.
Silence can be a great tool to really just focus energy and do that tension release, and you have a payoff. You could actually get a much bigger laugh from the silence. So you should be comfortable with silence. You should be okay with it, to breathe, to have the audience kind of just wonder what you're gonna do and say next. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's great. Feels good.
That's
It's like you're kind of resetting.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you have a time frame for the album? Because I love.
You like that idea?
Yeah, I'm super excited.
Well, when I do it, I want to do it right and have focus on it. So it's not just the audio recording of my show as it is now, but I want to have some bits that are catered to the concept of it being an audio recording. Yeah.
Or do you already have bits that you're like, oh, this would be great for that? Or...
Yeah, I mean, I just the guys of doing my show and constantly being self-aware of the fact that the audience, the listener's not going to know what this part is, so I constantly, almost director's commentary of what's going on as it's going, I think would be funny to the people watching the show and hopefully listening to it. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, the sound of magic.
The sound of magic. I think that's so great. Are you good on time?
I am. Probably should, bring it to a rousing conclusion. Yeah, some big grand finale.
Should we do a prototype of the album? Do you want to do a trick?
An audio trick here?
Yeah. No, we don't have to do that. I'm just kidding.
I just pulled off my thumb.
He did it for real, too. You would have been amazed.
The old lighter
stunning.
bag, right?
Stunning, yep.
Silence is golden. It's fun. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Did you have a good time?
Yeah, I did.
Good.
I did.
Me too.
It's fun to, it makes me want to have a podcast so you can sit down with somebody with phones off and actually talk at length, which you never get to do in real life. And I think it's fun for people to listen to different takes and philosophies and mindsets about the world of magic. So if people hung on for this whole length, I commend you. You must be on a long drive.
We're honored.
Yeah. Keep your eyes on the road.
Sorry about the traffic. Yeah. Well, it was just that the reason I wanted to do this was so that I could sit down with people that I admire and just soak up their essence.
Like, we're not really even recording, are we? This is just...
No, this was a whole
just Elliott hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, good. I'm jealous. I want to do this too.
Yeah. Well, just tell people you have a podcast.
Okay. Amazing.
Doesn't have to be real.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Just get a realistic looking mic with you take a D-light apart, put the little LED in there. And
yeah. This is styrofoam. It's made of...
It's actually made of paper.
Yeah. That fooled the shit out of me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
That's a good trick.
Good. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure. Thank you for listening.
Hi.
That was listen. Thank you for listening. Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course.
Silence.
Forever.
Good times.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Of course. And that's
magic. Yeah.